Welcome back to Mindset English, your home for powerful stories, inspiring lessons, and natural English learning. Today, we're going on a journey, not just through history, but through the heart and mind of a man whose wisdom continues to echo around the world. Get comfortable, listen closely, and open your heart. Because today we're learning from one of the greatest teachers to ever live, the Buddha. Now, this isn't just a story about the past. It's not about dusty temples or ancient scrolls. It's about you. Yes, you. Because the lessons the Buddha shared weren't meant for monks sitting quietly in faraway monasteries. They were meant for people like us, people with worries, dreams, pain, hope, and questions. Whether you're a student, a worker, a parent, or just someone trying to find peace in this busy world, this story is for you. And guess what? While you're learning this powerful story, you're also improving your English, naturally and meaningfully. With every word you hear, your vocabulary grows, your listening sharpens, and your understanding deepens. That's the Mindset English way. So let's begin, not just with a story, but with a transformation. A long time ago, in a small but beautiful kingdom called Lumbini, now located in present-day Nepal, a child was born who would one day change the world. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, but the world would come to know him as the Buddha, which means the Enlightened One. He was born to King Suddhodana and Queen Maya, rulers of the Shakya clan. The day he was born, something remarkable happened. Queen Maya, according to tradition, was standing in a peaceful garden surrounded by blooming flowers as she held the newborn baby in her arms. It's said that the trees bowed down in respect, and the air was filled with a sense of divine joy. It was as if nature itself knew that this child was different. From the moment of his birth, everyone could feel he was special. He had a calm presence and a gentle glow on his face like moonlight on water. When wise men came to see the child, one of them gave a powerful prediction. Siddhartha would either become a great king or a spiritual guide who would bring peace and healing to millions. But his father, King Suddhodana, didn't want Siddhartha to choose the spiritual path. The king had a different dream. He wanted his son to rule the kingdom, to become powerful, respected, and strong. So he built a world around him, a golden cage made of comfort and beauty. Inside the palace, Siddhartha had everything a prince could ask for: silk clothes, delicious food, music, gardens, and the best teachers in the land. There was no pain, no sadness, no sickness. His father made sure that nothing unpleasant ever reached the young prince's eyes. He was surrounded by joy, luxury, and endless entertainment, all designed to keep him from thinking about anything beyond the palace walls. But deep inside, Siddhartha felt something strange, a quiet emptiness that he couldn't explain. He had all the pleasures a person could dream of, Yet a silent question kept whispering in his heart. Is this all there is? One day, filled with curiosity, Siddhartha asked his father to allow him to step outside the palace gates and see the world. After some hesitation, the king agreed, but he carefully arranged the visit to make sure Siddhartha would see only happy things. But the world had other plans. As Siddhartha rode through the streets in his chariot, he noticed something shocking. An old man, bent over, walking slowly, his face lined with wrinkles and his body weak. Siddhartha turned to his charioteer and asked, "What is that?" "That," the charioteer replied gently, "is what happens to everyone. We all grow old." This was Siddhartha's first awakening. He had never seen aging before. In the palace, no one ever grew old. No one was weak. The idea that life wasn't forever, that beauty fades, shook him deeply. As they continued, Siddhartha saw something even more painful. A man suffering from disease lying on the side of the road. His face was twisted in pain. Siddhartha's heart ached. "What happened to him?" he asked. "He is sick," said the charioteer. "Illness can come to anyone, rich or poor." Siddhartha was silent. He had never imagined this, that even in a world of wealth, people could suffer so deeply. Then they came upon a funeral. A body was being carried by grieving family members. Siddhartha asked again, "What is this?" "This is death," the charioteer replied softly. "Everyone dies one day." In that moment, Siddhartha's entire world collapsed. He realized that no one could escape old age, sickness, and death, not even him. No amount of wealth or power could protect him or anyone else. But just when his heart felt completely broken, he saw something new, a wandering monk sitting quietly beneath a tree. He wore simple clothes. He had nothing, no gold, no crown, no servants. And yet his face glowed with a deep and peaceful smile. "Who is that?" Siddhartha asked. "That," the charioteer answered, "is a seeker of truth. He has renounced the world and is searching for the meaning of life." At that moment, something awakened inside Siddhartha. He realized that true peace didn't come from luxury. It came from understanding life, from facing reality, from seeking truth. And that night, Siddhartha made the hardest decision of his life. He would leave the palace, leave his title, leave his wife and newborn son, to discover the truth and find the path to end suffering. Late at night, while the palace slept, Siddhartha kissed his wife and son goodbye and walked away from the life he had always known. His heart was full of love, but also full of purpose. He walked into the darkness alone, but with a light beginning to grow inside him. He became a seeker, a renunciate, someone who gives up everything in search of a deeper truth. Siddhartha, wandered from place to place, meeting wise teachers, practicing meditation, and learning ancient philosophies. For years he lived with a group of ascetics, men who believed that by denying their bodies food, comfort, and rest, they could reach spiritual enlightenment. Siddhartha followed them. He fasted until his body was thin and weak. He meditated in the cold. He barely moved, spoke, or ate. His skin clung to his bones. But even in his deepest suffering, the answers didn't come. One day, near death from starvation, he collapsed by a river. A kind village woman named Sujata saw him and gave him a bowl of rice milk. With trembling hands, he accepted her gift. As he drank, strength returned to him. His mind cleared, and he understood something powerful. Truth is not found in extreme suffering, nor in extreme pleasure. It lies in balance, in the middle path. That realization changed everything. He traveled to a place called Bodh Gaya, where he sat beneath a tree now known as the Bodhi tree. There he made a vow. I will not rise until I discover the truth. Days passed. He faced inner fears. He faced the demon Mara, who tried to distract him with storms, temptations, and doubt. But Siddhartha remained still, focused, calm. He looked within. He watched his thoughts. He let go of desires. And then, as dawn broke, Siddhartha opened his eyes. He had seen the truth. He understood the nature of suffering and how to overcome it. He had awakened. He was now the Buddha. With peace in his heart and wisdom in his mind, he stood up and began to walk, not to escape the world, but to share what he had learned. He returned to the world with a gift, not gold, not power, but something greater, a way to end suffering. He taught the Four Noble Truths. Life includes suffering. It is part of being human. Suffering comes from desire, our craving for things to stay the same, to be perfect. There is a way to end suffering, by letting go of attachment. That way is the Eightfold Path, a guide for living a life of balance, compassion, and wisdom. This path includes right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. He shared this message with 5 ascetics, the very same men who once rejected him for choosing the middle path. At first, they didn't believe him, but as the Buddha spoke, they listened. They saw the peace in his eyes, the truth in his voice. One by one, they accepted his teaching. They became his first disciples. Together, they formed a small community, a sangha of people dedicated to living mindfully, compassionately, and wisely. The Buddha taught anyone who was ready to listen, rich or poor, young or old, man or woman. He didn't care about status or background. He believed that everyone had the power to awaken, and even though he had left his family behind, he never stopped loving them. His wife Yasodhara and his son Rahula would later join the path, inspired by the transformation in his life. The Buddha had not just found peace, he had become a light for the world. Yasodhara had once walked alongside Siddhartha, sharing his dreams, his royal responsibilities, and the quiet joys of palace life. But as time unfolded, so did her understanding. She came to see that Siddhartha's departure had not been a rejection, but an offering of peace, not just to her or their son Rahula, but to the entire world. She was touched deeply by his selflessness, realizing the strength it took to leave behind everything familiar, his family, his title, his comforts, all in the quest for something greater than himself. Yasodhara didn't retreat into sorrow. Instead, she rose with wisdom, grace, and inner clarity. She became a respected member of the early Buddhist Sangha, and her own life began to mirror the truth she now saw so clearly. That real happiness doesn't arise from wealth, position, or material gain. True peace is born from letting go. It grows in stillness, in self-understanding, and in compassion for others. Rahula, their son, too, found his calling not in royalty but in renunciation. Inspired by his father's unwavering path, he chose to become a monk. As a young disciple, he sat at the feet of the Buddha, learning not only the teachings, but watching the life that embodied them. His transformation was more than spiritual. It was generational. A lineage of awakening had begun, not based on blood, but on truth. The flame that spread. Across lands as years passed, the Buddha's teachings reached far beyond the borders of Kapilavastu. The message of liberation began to travel on the wind, through forests, across mountains, and into the hearts of those who yearned for meaning. From India, his teachings took root in Sri Lanka, Burma, Myanmar, China, Nepal, Tibet, Thailand, and eventually Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and the wider world. Buddha's voice echoed not through dogma, but through presence. He did not sit on a golden throne or demand worship. He walked barefoot, slept under trees, and accepted alms with humility. This humility, this unwavering presence, became the very foundation of his influence. He didn't divide his listeners, he united them. Kings and beggars sat side by side. Women and men listened with equal attentiveness. The untouchables and the noble-born were offered the same truth. For the Buddha, caste, wealth, status, and gender were illusions that clouded the real nature of being. The Dharma, his teachings, were a mirror to one's soul, and in that mirror all were equal. He often said, just as the ocean has only one taste, the taste of salt, so does the Dharma have only one taste, the taste of liberation. And that taste began to feed countless lives. A teacher beyond words. What made the Buddha unique was not just what he taught, but how he lived. His presence was his greatest sermon. He never forced anyone to believe. He never asked for blind obedience. Instead, he invited people to see for themselves. He used simple language, everyday analogies, like a candle lighting another or a lotus rising from muddy waters. He made the profound feel possible. His core message was this: you hold the key to your own awakening. He reminded his followers again and again, do not believe something just because I said it. Test it in the fire of your own experience like gold. Examine it well, and only then accept it. Through this attitude, Buddha became not just a teacher, but a liberator of minds. Meditation, the gateway to the inner world. Among all his teachings, meditation stood as the most powerful tool for transformation. The Buddha didn't preach escape from the world, but encouraged people to turn inward and observe the workings of their own mind. He taught that the mind, though chaotic, anxious, and clouded, could be tamed, stilled, and illuminated. He himself demonstrated this beneath the Bodhi tree, where he vowed, even if my flesh and blood should dry up, I will not rise from this spot until I discover the truth. For 49 days, he sat in silence, confronting his fears, desires, and doubts. Mara, the demon of illusion, appeared with armies of temptations, storms of fear, and seductive distractions. But the Buddha didn't fight. He simply watched, and that pure awareness became his power. In that stillness, he awoke. He realized that all suffering arises from attachment, and that freedom is found not in controlling life, but in accepting its impermanence. Through meditation, he showed the world that enlightenment wasn't reserved for gods or sages. It was within reach for anyone willing to look within. Mindfulness, living fully in the present. The Buddha didn't teach meditation as an isolated practice, but as a way of living. He called it mindfulness, the art of being fully present, of watching each breath, each step, each word with awareness. He reminded his followers that we suffer not because of life itself, but because we are caught in the past or worrying about the future. But peace lies now, in this very breath. Even the smallest action, he said, could be sacred if done mindfully. Whether eating, walking, or speaking, awareness transforms the ordinary into the divine. Mindfulness was more than a technique. It was a path to seeing clearly, to breaking free from the illusions that kept people trapped in cycles of craving and aversion. Through this clarity, people learned the art of letting go, facing death with peace. The final journey, as the Buddha aged, his body began to show signs of wear. He had walked across jungles and dusty roads for decades, offering teachings with patience and love. Now, as his final days approached, there was no fear in his heart, only calm acceptance. He set out on his last journey to a small town called Kushinagar, accompanied by a few of his closest disciples. Along the way, villagers gathered, hoping to see the man whose wisdom had touched their lives. Even as his body weakened, his spirit remained strong. In one of the villages, a humble blacksmith named Kunda offered him a meal. Some accounts say the food may have been spoiled. Others say it was simply too heavy for his aging body. Regardless, the Buddha accepted the offering with gratitude. Later, he fell ill with severe pain. But even in that moment, he did not complain. Instead, he turned to his disciples and said, "Do not blame the giver of the meal. He offered it with devotion. It is not the fault of the food. Everything is subject to change." This final act became a teaching itself. Even pain, sickness, and death are part of the great river of impermanence. The final words of the Buddha as he lay on his right side beneath a pair of sal trees, surrounded by monks and followers. The Buddha shared his final message. All conditioned things are impermanent. Strive on with diligence. Be a light unto yourselves. These were not words of despair, but of empowerment. He was saying, the truth does not live in temples or texts. It lives in you. Seek not outside for salvation. Look within. Cultivate wisdom. Cultivate compassion. That is the path to freedom. And with that, the Buddha entered parinirvana, the final liberation beyond the cycle of birth and death. His body passed, but his teachings remained alive, vivid, relevant, and timeless. Conclusion. The eternal light of Buddha. The Buddha's death was not the end. It was a new beginning. His disciples, though heartbroken, knew that the real teacher had never been the physical form. It was the Dharma, the truth, that would guide them now. From his life emerged the Four Noble Truths. Suffering exists. Suffering arises from attachment. Suffering can end. There is a path to that end, the Noble Eightfold Path. This path became the blueprint for a life of balance, right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Through these principles, millions have found clarity, healing, and meaning. Buddha's eternal message, a reflection for us. All the story of the Buddha is not just ancient history. It is a mirror, a call to remember that within each of us lies the potential for peace, for awakening, for transformation. Let's remember 3 eternal life lessons from the Buddha. Be present. The past is gone. The future is not yet born. Only in the now can we find true peace. Let go of attachments, whether it's people, possessions, or ideas. Clinging leads to suffering. Freedom comes when we loosen our grip. Live with compassion. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength. By loving others, we learn to love ourselves. Final words and outro. Thank you so much for joining me on this profound journey. through the life and teachings of the Buddha. I hope his story touched your heart, as it has touched countless others throughout history. If you found peace, wisdom, or inspiration in these words, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs light in their life today. Together, let's keep growing, keep learning, and keep walking the path of awareness and compassion. And remember, you are the light you've been searching for. Peace is possible. It begins with you. Stay present, stay kind, stay free. I'll see you in the next episode, where we continue exploring more life-changing lessons and stories that awaken the soul. Until then, stay mindful, stay wise, and stay compassionate.